Hey everyone, my name is Daphne Snyder and I'm a behavior analyst on the KRESA Classroom Consultations team. Our team specializes in assessing and treating challenging behaviors in the classroom, as well as supporting teachers as they're implementing classroom-wide strategies. Today, I'm very excited to share with you ways to promote sleep for your child. This project was created with Nicole Hollins, another behavior analyst on our KRESA Classroom Consultations team. Sleep difficulties affect between 40 and 80% of children with autism and between 20 and 40% of their typically developing peers. This is a pretty high percentage of students. And when we're talking about sleep difficulties, we're talking specifically about not being able to go to sleep, not being able to stay asleep, or having trouble getting up in the morning. And why we're really caring about this is because when our children aren't sleeping, it can impact their learning and their behavior. In fact, we see that sleep difficulties actually lead to an increase in challenging behaviors in the classroom. So sleep is really foundational to ensuring success in our children and in our students. When we're talking about sleep, there's a couple different ways we can approach this. And I'm going to talk about two here. So specifically, the environment and the behavior are the components we'll be discussing throughout the remainder of this presentation. So first, how to build an environment for sleep. The first component is really setting up the environment so that the child can sleep. And that can include things such as ensuring that the room is mostly dark, removing any distracting items. A lot of times that means maybe the tablet goes away after a certain time at night, or maybe we turn off any other electronics. We can also incorporate the child's preferences throughout the evening. So this can look like having them pick out their favorite pair of pajamas, or maybe they get to choose their stuffed animal that they sleep with for that night, or even whether they want some night lights on or some white noise. Anything that's going to help make that environment more welcoming to that child and really invite sleep in for them is what we're looking for. We can also promote sleep by removing some of the barriers to it, such as by limiting sugary foods or fluid right before bed, by following a stable meal schedule, limiting noise, limiting naps throughout the day so that they're a little bit more tired, particularly limiting naps a couple hours prior to bedtime, and also by promoting exercise. And again, this is just to ensure that that child is extra motivated to go to sleep. They're super sleepy, so they're ready to go straight to bed. We also know that on occasion, our children get into a rut where they're going to bed super late at night, and that's not always ideal. If this is the case, we can help them get to a more normalized bedtime by moving their bedtime slowly forward. So, for example, if you want your child to be going to bed by 8 p.m. every night, and maybe they're going to bed at 11 p.m., we would first start targeting that 11 p.m. time so that they're getting some consistency, they're going to bed at that time, and then we'll slowly move it back to first 10:30, then 10 o'clock, then 9:30, bit by bit until we're getting to that 8 p.m. time. And that'll just help the child more naturally get to that more appropriate time. And it goes right into making sure that they're motivated for sleep. If they've been used to going to bed at 11 p.m. so frequently, they might not be used to being tired at that earlier time. So that'll help build that tiredness to go to sleep. So next I'm going to talk about how we can build some sleep behaviors. And there are a couple steps we're going to dive deep into. And that's first making sure that everyone's on board, then creating a routine, and finally building a plan for when things don't go quite as planned. Because as parents, we know that this does happen on occasion. So first, get everyone on board. This is going to involve a conversation between you and your partner or any other adult who may be implementing some kind of sleep program with the child. The entire purpose of this conversation is to make sure that we're all on the same page so that we can use some consistency when getting that child back on track with their sleep. So first, discuss what's going to be feasible for you guys. That might mean maybe the child doesn't go to bed until 9 o'clock. Maybe we incorporate some quiet tablet time or a quiet story time. Anything that's going to be feasible for your family is going to be important to discuss initially. You should also be talking about what that eventual goal is. So maybe that means you want that child going to bed at 8 p.m. and you want them sleeping in their own bed. Now, again, sometimes that eventual goal is not where we're starting, and it's okay to gradually move back to that eventual goal over time. Finally, with your partner, identify where any difficulties may be and problem solve together. So this might mean that you talk about who's going to implement the bedtime routine, what happens if they're not available, and what happens if challenges come up throughout the bedtime routine. So for example, maybe one of you works the night shift, and because of that, typically the other one will have to do the bedtime routine. What's going to happen when the other partner is home, and how are you going to sort that out with the child? So really have those conversations to make sure everyone's on the same page and you can set that child up for success as you're beginning the routine. The next important step is creating that routine. So when I'm talking about a routine, I'm talking about a checklist of activities that the child's going to complete before bed that'll take about 30 minutes. And this can be totally personalized to your child and to your family. So whatever you guys do, whatever is normal to you can be added to this checklist. It can include tasks like dressing, washing, story time, quiet activities to wind down, and even cuddle time with mom and dad. Totally fine. We'll want to include some visuals on there so that the child can easily go through, look at what's next, and check it off as they go, so that they're building that schedule in their mind as well. And that leads to the next point. Over time, we'll slowly remove the checklist so that they're becoming more and more independent with that bedtime routine. And I know that's the eventual goal for everyone. So with that could mean, one night we use it, but then the next we forgot it downstairs, and we're just going to go through it. And you can actually turn this final step into kind of a game as to who can remember the checklist the best, who can do it the most independently. Really make it fun for the child so that they're having fun completing that routine and they're having fun getting ready for bed, and it'll become more natural to them over time. So here's an example of a bedtime checklist. You'll see that on the left-hand side, we have all of the things they're completing. In the middle, we have to do, and on the right-hand side, done. So that as we're completing bath time, as we're brushing our teeth, as we're reading a story, going to the bathroom, and as mom and dad are tucking us in, we can check it off and keep an eye on when bedtime is and what we have left to complete before bedtime. Here's another example that might be more practical for your family. In this particular example, you just fold up the task as it's completed. And for this particular example, these don't have to necessarily be done in the same order. So you can go out of order and check them off as you go. And that's another thing you should discuss with any of the adults who will be implementing the system. Does it matter if steps are completed in order? Can they be completed out of order? What's going to work best for you guys? Now, as parents, we know that on occasion, things don't go quite as planned. And one way to plan for this is to utilize a bedtime pass. And what this bedtime pass is an opportunity for that child to complete one extra step on their checklist. So if that's getting an extra snuggle session with mom and dad, that's getting an extra drink, or reading one more story, this is an opportunity for them to say, hey, 5 more minutes, but say it in a more appropriate way so that you're still ensuring that they're getting to bed. But in order for this to work, only one bedtime pass should be used per night, and you should be firm with this and make no exceptions so that the routine you are creating with your child can easily be followed and they know their expectations. Now, as you are beginning creating a bedtime routine, if you're looking for other resources, this is a really great book, Sleep Better. It provides a kind of breakdown as to some other interventions that might help you as you're creating some consistency surrounding bedtime. So check it out if you're looking for some more information. And if you do have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me. My email is here, and I will happily get back to you about that. Thank you so much for listening tonight.